Hi there, I'm Andy. A couple of things to admit. I'm from Dundee, but born in Glasgow. And here to talk about and how we adapt an existing thing that already is in our public domain. Parking Day is a very interesting model. Why reinvent the wheel? Sorry about the puns, there'll be a few puns in there. Why reinvent the wheel if we can actually use something that exists? So I want to talk about something we've been doing in Duncan of Jordanson, actually inspired by designers learning something from artists. So Rebar, or a group from San Francisco, did an interesting experiment here. 2005, for 2 hours, they sought permissions from the local city departments in order to reinvent convivial space in the city, in order to create what really takes the form of a temporary park in the grey urban concrete domain. Fundamentally, Rebar were interested in unscripted social interactions that can happen over brief periods of temporary occupation in the city. Dundee has been playing with this model in a department called Interior Environmental Design. In the last couple of years, we've done 18 of these around redundant and vacant car parking spaces, really to introduce students to the idea of collaboration and improvisation over between a 9-day or a 2-week period. There's no budget, there's no materials, but there is a space. But what it allows people to do is to think very clearly how they divide up creative roles from year 2, 3, and 4 of the department. The young kids arriving are terrified, of course, they don't know what to do. The older kids are there to guide them. They divide up important creative roles. Some become runners. Others are here to think about how they might be the lead in the workshop, the lead scavenger, the lead PR marketing pioneer, the lead team go-getter, the lead model maker, the lead drawer, the lead speaker. So we're picking up on some of the industrial roles, say from IDO, to kind of designate some clear tasks. Ultimately, it's introducing students to the idea of an ethical approach to being on the street for a short period in a day. 2011, there were something like 917 parking days in 62 countries. It exists and happens on the very same day, roughly in the 3rd week of September every year. One of the key issues we want to introduce students is this idea of collaboration and engaging your public. What is an art school for in the 21st century if it's not to serve the world and society in which it's placed? We're going to talk about this one later on at the end, but it's a great opportunity of how an art school can have a very powerful presence on the street for a brief period. It pisses down and rains sometimes it's sunny, but it's a spectacular example of how you can do a lot as a young design student with some insight into the public domain and urban regeneration. We call it sets in the city. Sorry about the joke, but set's a very useful metaphor because it has this temporary, illusory quality of it. This is an example of how you can see students are using existing bits and pieces, creating props as they go along. We use sets because some of our graduates do work in set and film set, TV set, Star Wars recently, the new Trainspotting movie, etc. They also have to divide up meaningful roles to get the message out to social media. So in that one final day at the end of the 9 days, 2-week period, they have to also install, man, they have to meet the public, they have to video record it, and a few days later they get the video online as well. But they need to also do some major PR and branding. It's an opportunity for students to find their own theme as a team. This is an example of how you can use the grounds from coffee in order to encourage plant growth. It's also a great way to engage other students, young kids, grannies and granddads, and they're absolutely astonished at what art school students can be up to. Talked about Brexit. This was the last independence, the day of the independence result. Everyone was really pissed off. This was Ireland, allowing people to vote for a fictional independent Scotland with all the political mockery that's going on with the guys dressed up as the various guys want to go for leadership. But it can also be something very simplistic. It can be the idea that you want to encourage the world who don't go to art school to rediscover the playful impact of drawing and mark making. So this example of play was a lovely opportunity for students. Here again, we just saw the guys in test unit, hard hats and so on. A way to engage young kids, to talk to them, get them really excited about their future. But they also need to think about how they market this tiny event on one day around the planet. So some students need to maybe take care of making, others are going to do branding. We want to be careful how they identify themselves to the public. So Frame Dundee is one of the 18 we looked at. What they were keen to do was find a whole series of reappropriated bits and pieces, so hence the idea of a set's a useful metaphor. They don't know what they're going to find, they don't have any money, they have to personally invest in it. I think it's a very exciting challenge if you're a designer. They need to engage, they need to negotiate, and they need to work out how they're going to get this thing logistically in place in one clear day and then de-installed in the same day as well. Frame was looking at the idea of the changes currently happening to Dundee. The frames were a way to rethink views and perceptions of Dundee. It's a small city, but it's a cool little city. But in that project, there are some core things that design students who are involved in spaces and places need to also encounter. So they can use this to engage and impress employers in the future. They need to think about some of the ability to visualize and document their story. And they need to think of how they can prototype the experience well in advance. So they're tearing their hair out. They're only arrived a few hours into art school, and suddenly they're landed with a local global project that's going to be very public in 2 weeks' time. They actually achieve it even though there's no money. They achieve it even though there are no materials. And they achieve it and actually publicize it. And it's one of the things that's also encouraged them to go on to pursue careers in set design, exhibition design, and interiors, and also architecture. Thank you very much.